You just don't wake up one day and just kill your parents for no reason. Those kids don't just wake up one day and just go shoot up a whole entire school. That's not how it happens. I mean, it couldn't be further from I mean, to think that this is about guns, to think that that's about access to firearms, it's just ridiculous. It's almost an embarrassment to the Western school system, to the Western governments, the Western hemisphere itself, to think that one of the leading causes of atrocities should be a political argument. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. Eric Harris, one of the Columbine killers, you should read some of those letters he wrote. Happen to have a copy of the letter, but I'm hesitant to read it because it's just so disturbing. I wonder if I could get a copy of it. I do have a copy of it. And this is to prove that, before they got all those weapons, before they got the bombs, before they got all the weapons of mass destruction, you have to understand that there's something that it just doesn't happen that quick. Here's the one. There's a deep and twisted and long and mundane and just sick process that has to occur before the evil action takes place. It just doesn't just happen. There is no, exactly how Nietzsche said, there is just no moral phenomena. There's a moral interpretation of that phenomena. And resentment and anger, these things, even on neurological levels, don't just erupt out of nowhere unless you're obviously sick. There has to be a deep level of resentment. There has to be a deep spirit of hate and jealousy and envy. And these traits have to brew. They first have to enter your perception, and they have to plague your perception first, so that all you can process, all you can think of is that thing. And that's the ticket. That is where it begins. Is justifying in the system of rationalizing and justifying the evil acts itself. That is what is bad. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. As he is thinking, as he is brooding on these thoughts. Oh my God, oh my brother, he's just so. He has everything. Everything I do just completely just falls apart. He has all the girls. He has all the achievements. He has everything. How come my parents didn't like me much? Well, look at him. Everyone's looking at him. He has such a nice smile. He has such a nice car. Well, screw that. Well, he didn't really earn any of that. He was just born athletic. He didn't really have to work and grind and hustle for that like I did. He just got everything handed to him. That's why everyone likes him. He's a prick. I hate that guy. I hate him so much. Waking up the next day, look at this prick. Oh, he's all tall. Oh, nice, talking to the girl I wanted. You know what? I really hate this guy. A whole entire year goes by. I really hate this dude. I just bought this gun last night, and I'm really getting tired of him. Then, what do you think happens next? It just doesn't start as, oh, there's that guy I don't like. Boom. What is occurring in these spaces? There has to be a certain level of anger, a certain level of brooding of hate before something like that takes place. You have to work your way up to. You have to gain the velocity first before it just. Hate doesn't travel at the speed of light. There has to be a build up. You have to turn on those motors. You have to turn on those processes in your brain that can even withstand that level of negative emotion. You have to be in such an anxious state where you're just burning your mental resources like mad, to the point where the action is inevitable. The action was just the mere causation to me in a human sense, not to sound too deterministic here, because not to sound too deterministic, because we can, in fact, repair our perception. We can, in fact, gain a new lens on life. We can let our old paradigms die. That's the whole Christian message. To be born again, that can happen. But you can't blame, this is like what Newton's laws. There's an equal and opposite reaction to every action. If I push this thing in this specific way, you can't blame the object for crashing into the other object and causing damage. That was bound to happen just by mere necessity. It was bound to happen. What else is going to happen if I apply force in this specific way? That's going to have a specific outcome. But what happened before? You see, science can only tell us that I knocked that over. That's the only thing a scientific observation can tell you. An empirical observer can only tell you that I did X, or I purposely did, or knocked over this, or I pressed this button, or we did this specific thing. The scientific observer can only tell you what occurred. The whole entire purpose, but what happened before that? Why did I choose that object? Why didn't I choose the other one? Why did I think about, why didn't I hurt him? Why didn't I hurt her? Why didn't I hit both of them? These cannot be scientifically observed. And these deeper presuppositions cannot be placed under a microscope. We can't observe that. So now we have a problem. We don't know why we're doing stuff. We can only just know what we're doing. If we don't know why, we don't know the deeper meanings behind what we're doing, then we're screwed. We're literally screwed by definition. Aristotle wrote in his Metaphysics, the man who knows why doesn't know. The man who only knows what doesn't know why. There's a man of knowing and there's a man of what is. There's a man of wanting to understand why. Aristotle was focused on, okay, but if I just simply know what, I don't know why. Well, even though he was the mathematical scientific person out of the great thinkers back then, there's a deep problem there. We don't know, well, why? Why is there? Why are we here? What are we doing here? Why did this occur? Some people will say, oh, well, we'll only know after the fact. And that's just that's a shitty answer. It's a pathetic answer. I would even go far as to say it's a cowardice answer to escape, because you don't want to ever think about yourself being in that situation. So you're going to say, well, that's just life, or well, we don't know, or that's what makes life beautiful, because we don't know why we're here. So it's a cowardice. It's a runaway. It's an escape. But these evil actions don't take place without some sort of force, without a long and treacherous buildup. What I'm trying to pull up is a letter by Eric Harris, one of the Columbine shooters. And this is out of hundreds that they wrote before they committed the act of atrocity. So keep that in mind. This happened before. These penmanship is pretty hard to read, so I won't be able to get every single word. This is Eric Harris. I would say the craziest out of the two kids. Kill mankind in gigantic letters. No one should survive. We all live in ties to people and always saying they want to live in perfect, well, utopia. Does it not? Fuck it. When should I have to explain myself to you survivors Should I have to explain myself to you survivors when half of this shit you say won't understand? And if you can, then whoop-de-fucking do. That may sound funny on its surface, but it's deeply, deeply disturbing. So not only is he saying he shouldn't have to explain his twisted thoughts to you, but he's saying that even if you did understand, it wouldn't matter anyway. So you can just sense that to be in this state, to write it down, to write something down, period, means that you do not, it is impossible to write something down without valuing it. So keep that in mind. That's why there is no true nihilist, because you were writing this stuff down. There's a meaning there. You don't write something down if you don't value it. So he's saying, even if you did understand me. So he's losing faith not just in humanity. He's losing faith in the spirit of humanity, of understanding each other, of ever even coming to a common ground. He doesn't even want that. He's saying, even if you did understand me, then whoop-de-fucking do. So he's saying it doesn't even matter. So you see the rationalization here. He's not saying, listen to the word choices, to the structure of it. He's saying, well, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter. What I'm doing does not matter. So I might as well do X. That is the equation here. It's not, I have to do this or else this will happen. It's, this doesn't happen. This is trivial. I might as well do this. So let's go do it anyway. That is the equation. Alexander Solzhenitsyn had a really great quote. He said, man doesn't commit evil unless he, what is it? Man doesn't commit evil unless he convinces himself that what he's doing is good. So it's impossible to do something unless you think that there was a good reason. So despite his words, despite what the sounds, the words that were being written down, despite what he conceptualizes, there is a commensurate contradictory action occurring. He's saying it doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, why are you writing it down? None of this matters, and why are you doing it? And that is the deeper question. If the nihilist comes to that question, okay, well, none of this matters, why am I writing it down? If I don't value any of this, why do I value it? It's impossible to think about something, to write it, to engage in something and not value it. And I think that is one of the occurring things in Genesis when God was creating the world, God was creating the creatures. In the world, he was coming into a creative process with matter itself. And then he said it was good. So what he is creating, what you create through your speech, through the word, through the logos, what you create thereby should be good. And that's the implicit assumption here. And I think that's what people don't understand. That's what you have to value it. If you're going to create something, you value what you create. You value what you create. It's impossible to not value something you created. Then whoop the F and do. You have something to say, my reason for killing, and the majority of the audience won't even understand. They'll say, he's crazy. He's insane. Oh well. I wonder if the Bulls won. You see, it's all worthless. All you efforts should die. Die. What is the point if only some people see what I'm saying? There will always be ones who don't. Ones that are saying there will always be ones who don't. Ones that are saying dumb or naive or ignorant or just plain retarded. if I can't pound it into every single person's head, then it's pointless. See, what he's doing there is he's, this is a common practice in Buddhism. And one of the critiques, if you read Carl Jung's psychological types, he breaks down the Vedas and the core principles of Buddhist thought. And a fundamental part of Buddhism is to abstract yourself from reality and to become the voyeur, to become indifferent of the opposites. So one of the key tenets is to not engage in sadness and not engage in happiness. Be indifferent to evil and be indifferent to good. Be indifferent to phenomena. And Nietzsche is also a Nietzschean critique as well. There's a deep nihilistic underpinning with that, because if I'm just indifferent to everything, then what matters then? What am I? If I'm completely indifferent to good and bad phenomena, then what is the point? What are we getting here? What is the point? And one of the purposes is to be in that space. I forgot what the word is called in a moment. But it's to be in that middle space of Zen, I guess you would say. To be indifferent towards the opposing phenomena in the world. And only a fool would over-engage in the bad, and only a fool would lose himself in the good impulses of man. So when Eric Harris is saying, I wonder if the Bulls won. So we were just going to think about this now, and then a couple seconds, it's not even going to matter. And then he said, what is the point if only some people will understand what I'm saying? If I can't pound it into every single person's head, then it's pointless. So we addressed how these, coming from this nihilistic point of view, well, it doesn't matter, nothing really matters, and only some will understand anyway. And how he's attacking it from this kind of radical Buddhist sort of way. But there's also a problem here. And he is abstracting, he's using an improper framework, an improper time frame, actually. And this was, I forget who the person was, but this is actually a philosophical point. It's called the view from nowhere. So we can, and this is also a psychological behavioral term as well. So we do so there's two types of construals. There are high level construals. So there are high quality construals. So that would imagine a high level construal would be, well, we did a good job. A high level construal in a behavioral sense would be, okay, well, don't break a leg. That's this kind of abstracted moral assumptions there. We did a good job today. I want you to do your best, be a good person. These are high level construals because they are abstracted away from the object. Now the low level construals would be, place this bottle over here. A low level construal would be, pick up your sister at 3 p.m. That's a low level construal. And the purpose of these two construals is to understand, if we're in a dialogue or when we're in marketing or whatever, is to understand, okay, so which construal should we use to most effectively get this message across? So if I'm trying to get someone to do something extremely specific, I don't want to use a high level construal, because I'm going to lose the effectiveness in my message. So if I want someone to rub my back a specific way, I'm not going to tell him do a better job. If I want one of my athletes on the court to, make sure you set a screen, and then once you set that screen, I want you to run to the baseline and then step back and then shoot a three, I'm not going to say, Charles, be a better basketball player. That's not helping him. That's not going to help him in that specific situation. A high level construal should not be applied to a low phenomena, to a low construal phenomena. And it works in the exact same way. So if I want someone to understand an abstract idea, if I want someone to understand something that has an ambiguous tint to it, I'm not going to use a low level construal, because that's going to become too complex. It's going to become too, especially if we're in a agent arena, and to use a not verbatim language, but if we're in a participatory knowing set of environment where you're just supposed to kind of lead on. So for instance, if we're in a romantic relationship and I want to go in for the move, I'm not gonna say, place your lips exactly on hers, and then once you do that, move your tongue at a 45-degree angle, and then once you do that for about 15 more seconds, then I want you to use your right hand, place it 2 inches below her right ear on the left side of her head. It's too complex for the flowing, for the ambiguous event. It's too minute. It's too specific. So you have to understand when you should use high level construals and when you should use low level construals in the behavioral sense. And the reason I bring this up is because one of the things that depressive people can't do is they don't know which construal to use. So if I'm going to wake up in life and say, well, no one's going to remember me, none of this is going to matter in 200 years. So number one, there is a seed of truth there, because, okay, well, perhaps you're right. Perhaps at this specific moment, when you're brushing your teeth and you just ate Cheerios, maybe that will not matter in 200 years. That's a great possibility. Maybe that won't matter. But here's the thing. Nobody right now is going to be alive 200 years from now. What we are all doing, every last person who exists on this planet right now in 200 years will not be here. So that is not a proposition that is intrinsic to you. You're using the wrong construal for the specific phenomena. You're using the wrong time frame. Why are you going to? So the question becomes, which time frame, which construal should I use that will facilitate and that will perhaps ameliorate some of my suffering? If you're suffering so bad, which construal are you going to use? Which time frame, which lens are you going to look through that will help alleviate some of that? Am I going to stretch it out and say, well, 200 years, all this is going to matter, 2 miles and I haven't tried, and everything sucks, and everybody sucks, and everyone's ugly, and never going to accomplish anything, and I might as well just not be here? Well, damn. What kind of lens is that? Is that going to help you develop a better relationship with one of your brothers? Is that going to help you get a better job? Is that going to help you become a better spouse? Is that going to get you married? Is that going to help you? Applying that type of ambiguous lens to the specifics in your life, is that going to help you? So Eric Harris is saying, if I can't pound it into every single person's head right now, then it doesn't matter. And if that doesn't matter, then I might as well just not even be here. Do you see this type of positive feedback loop of, well, this doesn't matter. Well, then if I can't have this, then this won't matter. And then, well, if we don't have this, then that means I must be a terrible person. If I'm a terrible person, that means I might as well not be here. It's the wrong construal. So the question is, so it's not about 200 years. How about instead, just a suggestion. How about trying to, instead of waking up and thinking about 200 years, why don't you think about, how can I make the next 20 minutes of my life right now better than I've ever done in my entire life? How about today I say hi, or I wave, or at least smile at 10 people? That is a low-level construal. So do you understand? What a wise person does, and that also this comes with experience. A wise person doesn't just know facts. Being wise, being intelligent is not your acquisition of facts. It's knowing how to aggregate those facts in a way that that supports being. That is what it means to be wise. F justice, F morals, F civilization, die. Man-made words. People think they apply to everything when they don't/can't. There's no such thing as true good or true evil. It's all relative to the observer. Now, that'll make you question, why, if there's no such thing as true evil, true good, it's all relative to the observer. Well, that sounds very familiar. That's a Buddhist claim. And not to turn this into like an attack on Buddhism or anything, but that's such an Eastern Buddhist way of looking at it. There is no true good, there is no true evil. It's all relative to the observer. So you see how he has to first eliminate the markers of good and evil so before he can commit that act of atrocity. So what he's doing is neither good nor bad. It's just an interpreted phenomena. It's all relative to the observer. So I read that for you just so you can understand what is necessary, what kind of justifications are necessary. Just playing with words, caught up in your words and not understanding the deeper questions, the deeper motivations behind the words, stepping outside of the propositional tyranny, to use Rebecca's language. That is what the well-rounded fool does.